You asked for them and I'm here to deliver. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie and today I'm here to do some book recommendations for you. So if you didn't know, at the beginning of March I actually launched my YouTube memberships, and so you can actually become a paw print pal by hitting that join button. But I actually asked my paw print pals to give me book recommendation prompts that they're interested in, and so I have a list, 2 pages of book recommendations that they have submitted. Okay, so I'm trying to give 2 book recommendations for each prompt. There were, I believe, 2 that I was only able to give 1 recommendation on, so bear with me. But let's jump into the first one. So Laura asks, slow burn romance and if they're clean, bonus points. So I actually have 2 that I'm very excited about. So the first one is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. It's not 100% considered a clean romance, but I feel like this one is pretty clean when it comes to Abby Jimenez's books, and I absolutely loved it. It's, to this day, my favorite book of 2024. It might even top my favorite romance book, which is also by Abby Jimenez. So this one I am recommending because it actually comes out next month in April. It's either at the beginning or the end of April, but I am so excited. I cannot wait for people to actually start reading this and talking about it. I'm giving this one a slow burn because there is a lot of buildup of this friendship / relationship, and nothing physical actually happens for a good while. And then my next recommendation is actually my current read, which is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I have about 30% left of this book, but I have been told and I've come to realize that Sarah Adams books are very clean, but this one is definitely a slow burn. It's kind of got that fake dating, but not really fake dating, but there is so much tension and yet nothing has happened. And I really enjoy this one. I consider this one a slow burn. Slow burn is not really my go-to romance choice, but I'm really enjoying this one. I'm really enjoying the story of this one, and it doesn't have any spice at all, which I'm like, is this something that I'm liking? Because I'm liking it, but it's not my usual taste. So definitely recommend this one. All right, next, Brianna says small town thrillers. So I have 2 in mind. Okay, so a little bit different, but I'm also trying to not recommend books I think people are expecting me to recommend. For example, at the end of this video, you'll see that there is a haunted house book. So I'm trying not to recommend Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Books that I haven't mentioned in videos either in quite some time or at all. So for small town thrillers, I'm going to say The Best of Friends by Lucinda Berry. This one is about 3 moms. You have Lindsay, Kendra, and Danny. They are all parents. They all have a son who are all in the same age. Something tragic happens. Without giving too much away, the 3 sons, one of them is dead, one is in a coma, and one is so traumatized that he can't speak. So as you're following these moms and trying to figure out exactly what happened to their sons that horrific night, you uncover a lot of stuff about everyone in this book. So, and I feel like it's because small knit group, everyone knows everyone. That's why I'm giving it a small town vibe. Okay, and then for my second small town thriller, I'm going to say Sherry LaPena's Everyone Here Is Lying. This one definitely has that small town vibe because everyone kind of knows everything about everyone. And I really enjoyed this one. This one made it on my favorites of 2023 and I highly recommend. But this one follows a guy who is having an affair with another married woman. So you have that aspect, but also as he gets home after his affair has been broken off by the other woman, he finds his, I think she's 12, maybe she's 10, but his daughter who he's always had issues with because of her attitude and stuff. And one thing leads to another and you don't really know what happened to the daughter. But everyone thinks that the dad had something to do with the murder or the disappearance of the small child. So has a lot of twists, has a lot of drama, small town vibes. The next submission was from Danny, and she said romance that just throws you in. I actually have 2 for this one as well. So the first one I want to mention, I'm actually going to recommend this one for another prompt later on, but it is Hemlock by Kirsten Modulin. I do really like this one, and I feel like the more I think about it, the more I need to raise my rating. But this one, I would go into this one knowing it's more of a romance, like 80% romance, 20% like paranormal thriller, I guess you can say. But this one is really good. It has a love triangle. It's very messy. You don't really know who you're rooting for, which I love, because I feel like in most love triangles you're kind of rooting for one. But I think this one is a really good one because it literally just throws you right in, and you're like, okay, this isn't what I signed up for, but I'm here for it. So I recommend this one. And then my next romance that throws you right in is actually a Christmas book, but hear me out. I feel like you can read this any time of the year because it almost has like no Christmas in it. But it was actually my favorite book of 2023 of all time. So it is Nick and Noelle's Nick and Noelle's Christmas playlist. So this one has friends to lovers, fake dating. Their like friendship is so freaking precious that you just like immediately want this to work out from page 1. And I love this holiday series by Cody Hall. So if you haven't read any of them, highly recommend. But this one is my favorite, and I never thought to this day I would say a Christmas book is my favorite, but this is so good, and I highly recommend you pick this one out. So the next one is T Loves Reading, said thrillers with podcasts. She actually submitted 2. So the first one is thrillers with podcasts. So I really have a good one for you. The first book I want to recommend is None of This Is True by Lisa Joel. I think you should kind of go into this one not really knowing a whole lot, but this is about 2 women that have the same birthday. They don't know each other, but they're kind of celebrating their birthday at the same restaurant. They kind of bump into each other at the bathroom, and they're like, oh my gosh, like we're birthday twins. Like that's so funny. One of them is a little bit peculiar. The other one is a podcaster, and so a couple days or weeks later they run into each other again, and the one that's a little bit strange is like, hey, I have a story I need to tell, and I think telling it on your podcast is going to be perfect. So the other one's like, oh yeah, like okay, cool, let's see what's going on. And like this book is a wild ride. It's a wild ride. So it definitely has podcast elements. It also has like a Netflix docu-series on here as well. I highly recommend reading this one with the audio. The next one I'm actually going to recommend is probably one that's a little too obvious, but I also recommend the sequel. So the one I have is The Night Swim by Megan Golden. I also recommend Dark Corners by the same author. It is book 2. I feel like you can read them separately. The Night Swim is actually probably the first book that I've read where I had that whole like podcast element, and like just listening to it on audio was just amazing. Like highly recommend. So this one is about Rachel. She has a true crime podcast, and in the first book she is actually following a rape trial in this small town thriller in real time. So she's actually like attending the court hearings and things like that and updating her podcast, but also there could be another crime going on in front of us and in the past. So it's really good. Highly recommend this one. And yeah, T Loves Readings also wanted to have some thrillers set around college, and so for that one I am going to recommend In My Dreams I'll Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This one is really good. It was 5 stars for me. It was also a Sleep When I'm Dead book club pick. So if you are interested in picking this one up, I definitely recommend that you go down to the description box, because I'll leave the link for the live show discussion for Sleep When I'm Dead like many years ago. But this one is about a murder that happened in college, and it was within this really big friend group, and ever since then, like, you know, they all went their separate ways. They're coming back for a high school or college reunion, and secrets get brought up. So highly recommend this one. Okay, and next to like switch things up, I have Creep by Jennifer Hillier. This is kind of like a romantic suspense in a way, but this is where a college professor is sleeping with one of her students. She tries to call it off. He won't let it go. Stalker vibes are there. So if that's something you're looking for as far as like a college setting, definitely recommend this one, or anything by Jennifer Hillier, to be honest. So there's another one for you. Next, she would like one that has an isolated setting. So for those, I do have quite a bit of recommendations. My obvious go-to is No Exit by Taylor Adams. I still to this day love this book and think about it quite often. So if you haven't read this one, definitely pick it up. If you're looking for some thrillers, I have The Spare Room by Andrea Bartz. This one also has a little bit of a romantic suspense to it. This one takes place during COVID time, so if that's something that doesn't bother you, I recommend this one because it's about a woman that kind of gets into like a threesome relationship with another couple. Interesting. Another one that I recommend is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. This one is really, really good. And I feel like I don't really hear too many people talk about this one. This one is about a woman who is getting ready to get married to this wealthy man. And right before the wedding, she ends up having a one-night stand, I think at her bachelorette party. But like, she was like, that was a mistake. Like, that will never happen again. Well, after they get married, they go to this like reclusive, super expensive, bougie offshore island. And guess who shows up at the island saying, I need to talk to you, we need to talk? The guy with the one-night stand. And this is just a wild ride, let me just tell you. All right, so the next one is actually from Gwen, and she wanted big friendship vibes, and I realized I don't really have a good recommendation for that. But I did find one that I think would be a good rec for her, but I just haven't read it, so I do want to talk about that one. But before we get into that, if you have a good recommendation for books with big friendship vibes, leave that down in the comments for Gwen. Like, help us out. But when doing some research for a book with big friendship vibes, this is one that came up on a website and I thought it sounded really good. So Gwen, hopefully this might be something you're interested in. But it is called The Brightside Running Club by Josie Lloyd. It says, when Kira first receives her breast cancer diagnosis, she never expects to end up joining a running group with 3 women she's only just met. Totally blindsided, all she can think is how she doesn't want to tell her family or step back from work. Nor does she want to be part of a group of fellow cancer patients. Cancer is not her club. And yet it's running. Hot, sweaty, lyrica-clad running in the company of brilliant, funny women all going through treatment that unexpectedly gives Kira the hope she urgently needs, because Kira will not be defined by the C word. And now with the Cancer Ladies Running Club cheering her on, she's going to reclaim everything: her family, her identity, her life, one step at a time. I actually have the website over here. I'll leave the website down below because it has like, the link has all these like big friendship vibe book recommendations, but it says this book about female friendship highlights the power of supporting one another through the most challenging moments. While the topic makes it seem that this could be one of the saddest books about friendship, reviewers say this book is funny, witty, and uplifting. That said, it still provided a realistic look at what it means to endure cancer treatments. So I hope that's a good recommendation. It actually sounds really good, and I've also added it to my want to read list. All right, let's go through a few more recommendations. So Kayla said, an underrated book with the what the did I just read? So yeah, I have quite a bit. I don't own this one physically, but I read it and I was like, it is a super fast, like, don't take it seriously popcorn thriller. It's by Kirsten Modulin. It is Don't Go Down There. This one's about a woman who goes home, can't find her husband in the house. Finally she does. She finds out that he has something in the basement, and he doesn't want her going down there. And when she does go down there, but let me just tell you, this thing had a lot of twists and turns. If you're looking for something super fast and like something you don't really need to take seriously, but with a lot of like twists and turns, don't go down there. If you're looking for something that's not really a popcorn thriller, I do recommend The Rona Girls by Amy Engel. This one does have a lot of like sensitive matter, but I haven't read this one in so long and I feel like I never talk about it, but I loved this one. This is about a woman who has to go back to her small town thriller, there you go. Has to go back to her small town because her cousin has went missing. She has not seen her cousin or her cousin's family since she left as a teenager, and there was a lot of messed up stuff going on when she was there. So you get both past and present timelines. This is one of those where it's not like you get to the end and you're like, what did I just read? It's the what am I currently reading type of thing. So there you go. Okay, so Lena wanted domestic thrillers without cheating, which was kind of hard to find. And I know one of my recommendations she's not going to like, but I'm going to give it to you. And that is Playing Nice by J.P. Delaney. This one does not have cheating in it, at least that I remember, or it's not relevant to the story. And I know she does not like this author, but I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. This is about a man and woman who have a child, and they feel like they have like the perfect family. Everything's all great. And then they come to find out that their son is not actually their son, that their biological child was switched at birth. And they meet the other family that actually has their son, and they our main characters currently have their son. And so it's kind of twisted and witty, and I love it. So if you're looking for a thriller that's a little bit different, I recommend this one. Okay, and then my next recommendation, I don't think this one has cheating in it. But I read this so long ago that like before I even made a channel, and I've recommended it a few times and I don't feel like anyone's ever picked it up. So I also think it's not that domestic, but I feel like it also could fit in. So it is Mine by J.L. Butler. This one is about a woman who is about to hit like a really big like career goal of hers by getting like a promotion. She's a divorce attorney, and she takes on this client who basically is trying to get divorced from his wife. They kind of start forming a relationship, like his lawyer and him. Yeah. And then while they're like kind of like hooking up, one night she's on her way home and she sees him and his wife that he's divorcing out at a romantic dinner. And then the next morning she realizes that there's blood all over her hands and she doesn't remember what's going on. And by the way, the wife is missing. So not technically cheating in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. This book is so wild and crazy, but I loved it. I recommend it. Don't hate me. Okay, this is one where I only had only one recommendation, and I'm not 100% sure exactly how to explain this one, but Amy asked for Nordic noir, I think is how you say it, and I'll be honest, I don't really have a lot of recommendations, but I have The Nesting by CJ Cook. If you liked Turn Up the Key by Ruth Ware, I think you're going to like this one. I personally did not like the Ruth Ware one, but I loved this one. I think I gave it 4 stars like way back in the day. Gosh, it's been forever since I've read this one, but it is about a woman who's getting hired to take care of this man's children as a nanny, and she's gonna be living there. It's kind of set off at it's set in Norway. The guy is a really fancy architect, and his wife jumped off a cliff, and you know, creepy things are happening, very gothic vibes. So there's my recommendation. All right, Summer asked for a paranormal haunted house recommendation. So I'm not going to recommend Home Before Dark, although I do recommend Home Before Dark. But if you're looking for haunted house paranormal vibes, but you want a little bit of a romance, I'm going to say Layla by Colleen Hoover. I know some people love Colleen Hoover, and I know some people hate Colleen Hoover. Is this my favorite by her? No, but it's definitely different. I bet you weren't expecting me to recommend this one, but I feel like if you like romance, paranormal, kind of spooky stuff, you'll like this one. And then again, returning back again is going to be Hemlock by Kirsten Monschlin. Again, this does have a creepy haunted house vibe, but also has a love triangle. All right, and then the last recommendation asked is from Jules. It says Kidnapping / Locked Door. So if you are looking for Kidnapping, this is definitely one that I recommend. It's Mary Kubica's Local Woman Missing. This one is really good. It's probably my favorite by Mary Kubica, but this one has to do with like kidnapping / missing women. The first chapter, if you're looking for this specific trope, that first chapter is really gonna like suck you in if you haven't read this one. So I recommend this one. And then if you're looking for something a little darker, I recommend Chevy Stevens' Still Missing. This is actually her debut book and I loved this one. I will say I did want something more out of the end, but the first half is a wild ride, but then it's got a good old twist at the end. So I recommend picking this one up, but it's very graphic. But it's also my favorite from her, so recommend this one. I forgot to mention this one also has to do with a real estate agent. She has an open house. No one ended up showing, so she starts packing up and then someone shows up. So she's on her way to like show this person what the house is about, and he ends up kidnapping her. Yeah, it triggered my fear of being kidnapped. So all right guys, those are all of my book recommendations that were submitted from my paw print pals. I'm super excited I was able to do this. Thank you so much, pals, for submitting your book recommendations. If you would like to become a paw print pal, there's still time. You can hit that join button and you get bonus content, access to all my videos 24 hours early. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake the simplest feeling beyond the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello,